All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about SMIS, or SQL Server Management Studio Magic. These are just some tips and tricks and cool ways that you can utilize the software. I am Caitlin Stewart. I am a full stack developer, work primarily in C# and T-SQL. And the source for this talk is actually from Kendra Little. She does SQLworkbooks.com. A lot of the content is from her SQL Server Management Studio Shortcuts and Secrets course, which is free on there. She has a ton more information. It's definitely worth checking out. And some of this is also from a coworker of mine. And then there's the link to the Microsoft Docs that has many, many more keyboard shortcuts that are just built right in. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do when you open Management Studio is you're going to start a new session. So you can actually accomplish that by using Control-N and Control-U will allow you to select the database you're going to use. And I apologize, I can't make these bigger, but they are going to be embedded online so you can see them larger on your computer. So as you see here, we just do Control-N, and that's going to pop right up with a new session. And then you type Control-U, you can see up in the corner it's highlighted the database, and I start typing it and it's going to auto-complete it. As soon as the database you want is selected, you can hit enter, and that's actually going to dump you right back down into your session so you can start typing your query right there, all without touching the mouse. So next up, you're writing your query and you need to get some more information. So who here knows about SP help? All right, about half of you. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So what SP help is it gives you some information about a table. So I have here, you can type up there SP_help and then the name of your table in quotes, or you can just type in the name of the table or highlight it and do Alt F1, and it pulls up all this information you see down here. Which gives you the column names, their types, as well as any foreign keys. And you can see down here, it'll show you what table it references and the column, and any other columns that reference it. So it's very, very helpful, but it gives you quite a bit of data. So I typically wind up just doing that to get the column names. There's actually a better way to do that, and that's going to be Control-K and Control-I. And I'll also show you a little secret there with that in stored procedures. So if we pop on over here. So I have this query written here, and I'm placing the cursor right before the star in my select statement. And I just do Control-K and Control-I, and up pops up a list of all the columns, and it also includes their data type as well, and whether they're nullable. So that's a great bit of information, especially when you don't know what columns there are, etc. And you can also see that that works with a join. So that brought up the column names from both of those tables. So you don't have to do it just for a single table. All right, and we have a stored procedure down here. Yeah. Control-K, then Control-I. And that's on the select, it's right before the asterisk is where you need to position the cursor. And that gives you all of the columns. Now down here at the bottom, I have a stored procedure, and you can move that cursor anywhere in the name of the stored procedure. That same Control-K and Control-I, you can see it pulls up the stored procedure, and then it tells you the name of the parameters as well as their type. So you don't have to go back and look, well, what parameters does this one use? So that's definitely a very helpful thing. All right, so moving on, you're ready to execute your stored procedure and look at your results. Well, when you're writing that, you may want to comment or uncomment. To comment is Control-K, Control-C, and you can uncomment that with Control-K and Control-U. And without touching the mouse again, you can execute it. You can either do F5, which is my preferred way, or Control-E, and that will just run everything you have on the screen. And you can show and hide those results with Control-R. So let's do a quick demo of that. I have that same query up there. I highlighted everything and hit Control-K, Control-C, and you can see that it put comments in front of everything. Then I selected just this little portion because we just want to execute that query the stored procedure, and then Control K, Control U to uncomment it. Now I do also want to show you, this works with multiple levels of comments. So you can indent that over and over, and you might be able to see that the top ones have multiple comments, but the last one for the stored procedure just has one set. So that'll help you with nesting and things like that. And you can uncomment it. So let's go ahead and run the stored procedure with either F5 or Control E, and you can see our results down here. Now I'm looking at that, and that's not quite what I wanted. So I'm going to hit Control R to hide those so I have more room to go back and write my query or refine everything. But then I need to pull those up and look at them again. That same Control R pops that window back up and back down. All right, so back to writing a query. A lot of times you want to select all, or at least most of your columns. You can actually drag those from Object Explorer, and I'm going to talk a little bit about formatting those with Replace, which is Control H, and then Replace All, which is Control A. So as you can see over here in Object Explorer, I have my table expanded, and I select the columns folder for that table, and I can drag it right over here in between select, then my blank space from. And it's going to populate all of your column names with the safety brackets. And you can see that they're all in one line. That's a big glob. And I want to do some formatting on this, but it doesn't help me if I have to type every line. So what you can do is you can do Control H, and that brings up this replace window here. And now the /n is the regular expression for a new line. So I want to replace every time there's a comma and a space with a comma and a new line so that this is legible. Now it's important to note that third icon there is actually for regular expressions. If you don't turn that on, this won't work. It will replace it with a /n. So just be sure that that's on. And then you can hit Control A, and I'm on a Mac here, so the buttons are funky. But you can hit Control A, and it's actually going to go through and replace those with new lines. And it shows 30 of them are replaced. And if we scroll right over here, you can see those are all on their own lines. They still have the commas, which is fabulous. That's definitely saved quite a bit of time. All right, next up, formatting. That's terrible. I love indentions. It looks better, it's legible, and let's face it, someone at work is not going to let you format it that way. So I'm going to teach you a bit about Tab and then Shift Tab, and then there's some Alt Mouse magic. So we have the same thing right here, and you can actually hit Alt and then drag your mouse down. You can kind of see that little line there where it's highlighting the first bit of each row. And so you don't have to do this for tabs because you can highlight it all and it'll still work. But I hit Tab there twice, and that's too many for my preferences. You can actually hit Shift Tab, and it's going to untab that for you. So it'll bring it back a place so you don't have to go and delete those. Now I have this table aliased, and I really like to reference that. With all that selected, which I did with the Alt mouse, I can actually type CUST period, and now those are spelled out without me having to type each and every single one of those in there. So that definitely will save quite a bit of time for formatting. All right, so we've made quite a mess here. So let's go ahead and clean everything up. You can actually use the left and right arrows to navigate in Object Explorer. You can see over here we have the columns expanded. You can do left and right and up and down and move up in there. You can go all the way to the left and it will collapse everything all the way up to the database level. And you can expand it back out. You want to get to stored procedures and you don't want to click programmability, stored procedures, scroll down to the one I want. You can use the arrows keys to navigate there straight from Object Explorer. Now, a new thing that I've learned is actually Object Explorer details. And to open this up, you hit the F7 key on the keyboard. And so what it does is you can see that I have selected over there a table, and it's going to pop up in your main screen, Object Explorer Details. And in the yellow path, kind of in the middle of that window, you can see that it indicates that I have selected that table. So where you have selected in Object Explorer is what's going to open in Object Explorer Details. So kind of keep that in mind if you're opening an entire database. It's going to take more time and be more labor intensive. So something that you can't do from Object Explorer is actually script out all of the indexes from a table at once. In Object Explorer Details, you can select all of them, right-click, script them all out, and it's going to put those together for you in one script, just like that. And so you don't have to go through and do each one, which is especially helpful when you have quite a few of them. That was in Object Explorer. When you're at the table level, the folders that you can see there, there's one for constraints, and it'll open it up and you can pull up all of those. So select them all just by Shift and selecting them all, right-click, and then you can script those indexes out. And so another thing you can do is wherever you click, it kind of changes and updates in the Object Explorer Details. So now I'm back up here at a higher level in the schema here, and you can search. So I have a stored procedure or a table, and it has cust. I can't remember if I named it customer, get customer, or whatnot. You can actually search using the wildcard characters, and that'll search your whole database. You can see stored procedures that have that as part of the name, indexes that have that as part of the name. So if you have a good naming convention in place, you can easily find things without having to dig through every table. So there are a bunch of things in Object Explorer that you can dig into, and this is just, a small portion of some of the shortcuts that are built in. Once again, I recommend checking out Kendra Little at SQLworkbooks.com. Her course definitely expands on that, and I'll share these slides which have those videos embedded so you can see them, and that links straight to her course on this. Does anyone have any questions that I can answer? Kristen. To get to Object Explorer Details was just F7 on the keyboard. Anyone else?
For the first time I found out about the Object Explorer and then scripting out all those different things at once, I was like, yes.
Yes, it can definitely be a big time saver. Well, again, thank you so much.